Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a really quick video. So, I've been in the chats a little bit today. Looks like there's a lot of drama in flat Earth, ball Earth debate, all this kind of division on both sides. But, to me, it's inevitable. I mean, everybody has an opinion these days, and, that's just the world that we live in. There's very little consensus on anything. Unless, it's a narrative fed by the government. There's quite a few people who are aligned with that, but apart from that, there's very little consensus. And it looks like even within that, there's some division. Like the Non Sequitur channel is throwing rocks at one another and all that kind of stuff. So, a house divided cannot stand. I mean, both sides are divided. The truth side's divided. The non-truth side's divided. And then the summation of those two would obviously, by definition, be divided. So, this place is completely finished in my mind. But I wanted to talk further a little bit about something that Pete Shea keeps saying. And I'm going to kind of get on his case now more because I think he's hurting, quote-unquote, truth community more than he's helping. But, he keeps pushing that Obama and Will Smith are the same people, which is just confusion. It's even if that were the case, it's completely irrelevant to anything. And so I'm going to kind of get on him to start getting his opinion on financial stuff. Everybody's pretty much hush-hush on financial things, and it's blatantly obvious. So there's something else going on, in my opinion, for people who do that. But Will Smith. What I would guess, again, we don't know for sure, is a so-called Negro. He would be what people would label as a so-called African American, and Obama is an African. And then most people assume that those two people are the same, that African American and Negro are one-to-one, but that is not the case. And I wanted to use a source that the Hebrews use quite often and to me is very compelling. In the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, so Zondervan is a well accepted and respected, publisher of Christian material, and one would think, would not be biased in any way. They would probably be biased towards evangelical Christianity of anything, certainly in their publications here in the U.S. But so in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, if you look up Ham, Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And the Shemitic people are all the people that are descendants of Shem. And Ham is defined here in the Zondervan Dictionary as the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites, found in Genesis 10, 6-20. His indecency when his father lay drunken brought a curse upon him. Ham is, like it says here, the progenitor of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So broadly speaking, Ham would be the progenitor of the so-called Africans. And but the Zondervan Dictionary says here explicitly, and I'll put the link below for this, not the Negroes. They're not the same people. Everybody wants to just lump everybody together because no one knows anything in this day. It's becoming very, very obvious that the world is completely brain dead. But that's just the world that we live in. Thankfully, there's traces of truth in pockets on flat Earth. But Will Smith and Barack Obama are from a completely different lineage. So it just shows the kind of confusion that Pete and a lot of people are bringing to the table. I'm not saying he hasn't done anything for the truth movement, but it's becoming very, very obvious that this circus is just that. It's a circus. So I just want people to consider the fact that, now if they're not from Ham, they're either from Shem or Japheth, and there's plenty of support that the so-called Negroes are Shemitic people. They are Semitic people. Again, that does not mean that all of the Israelites are dark-skinned and will look the same. That's just not true. All these people that came from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, have gone to different parts of the world, and they've married people who are local to those areas, and there's been mixing and all that everywhere, and to this day it's happening. So one would think it would happen in a greater concentration in the olden days when there's less and less people, so there's just less sort of permutations, that can happen. So, once one group mixes with another, that's going to create, a large large group of people from that mixture. And that's what we have, in front of us. And so, that's the case, and now and certainly in the past. So, people who are from a lineage of Shem, will, like I said, look like all different people. They'll look dark skinned, they'll look light skinned, and everything in between, and they'll look Asian, all that kind of stuff. This is God's plan. He wanted this confusion, but he also wanted certain things to be clear. And to me, it's very, very clear that the biblical Jews, many of them are the so-called Negroes in America, and then that implies that, like the Bible says in many, many places, that Jesus is dark-skinned. This is an invitation that my channel offers to people to worship the God of the Bible, and for what it says, and the narrative that he has set forth for them, and people who are enslaved worldwide, we all are to some degree, is his plan. But what they've gone through, being packed like sardines on cargo slave ships and sent here, and the kind of torment that they were put under, has to be in the Bible. There is no God who would ever allow something like that to happen on earth and not have a particular reason for it. They were sewing cats into a woman's womb and betting to see which one could come out fastest, scratch their way out. They were using, Negroes as like gator bait. They were obviously hanging them off trees, all that stuff. It was just a horrendous form of slavery that happened to them. And again, there's slavery that happens worldwide to this day that is just as sinister. But for it to be with that large of a group, and to have that type of impact on them as a group of people to this day, to me, has to be in the Bible, or else the God of any religious text would be completely oblivious to what's going on under their watch. And so to me, that is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Ultimately, the enslavement is prophesied for all of us in the end times, but that level of devastation has to be for a spiritual purpose. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.